Good afternoon, evening, middle of the night, perhaps. Pompey fans, here's the very latest update from in and around Fratton Park for Wednesday, the 16th of April, as we head towards Norwich.
Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park, sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
Portsmouth's Callum Lang is back training with the first team after being sidelined for 2 months with a hamstring injury, though manager John Massinho thinks it's unlikely we'll see him play again this season. Lang's absence has been felt hard by Pompey. He was in flying form before picking up the injury against Oxford United, and even now remains the team's leading scorer with 10 goals, including a memorable 4-goal haul against Coventry just before Christmas. The timing of his injury couldn't have been worse. When Lang went down, Portsmouth had a comfortable 7-point buffer above the relegation zone. That gap has since shrunk to just 4 points above 22nd-placed Cardiff City. While Lang's return to training has given everyone at the club a lift ahead of crucial Easter fixtures against Norwich and Watford, the chances of him actually getting on the pitch this season are slim. Massinho isn't surprised to see Lang pushing to get back, telling the News. He's been training for a couple of days now, but he's not as far along as Connor Shaughnessy or Rob Atkinson. The thing with Langy is he only knows one way to play, flat out. Unlike centre-backs, who can sometimes cruise through games, trust me, I know from experience, Callum just can't hold back. That's why we need to be extra careful with him. We'll assess him properly next week, but I'm pretty much certain, let's say 99.9%, that we won't see him again this season. We're basically protecting Langy from himself at this point. As much as he wants to get back out there, we need to make sure he's properly fit before putting him on the pitch. Look at Rob. We managed to get him back earlier than expected after the Millwall and Coventry games. We saw an opportunity and took it. We'll take the same approach with all our injured players, but every case is different.
Elsewhere, John Massinho has dropped a little gem of an insight into being a professional footballer, particularly being a centre-half, because comparing the way that Lang plays with the way that the likes of Shaughnessy plays, he is able to say that, unlike Lang, centre-halves are able sometimes to simply go through the game. That's the phrase I think he used, off the record maybe. Centre-halves can go through the game. They can barely break into a run if they really know what they're doing. Was it the great Italian footballer Maldini who famously said, if I have to ever make a tackle, I know that I've already got something wrong, because the job is all about standing on the right bit of grass at any given moment. That is the art of being a centre-half. A backline defender is positional play and intelligence in that regard. So you don't have to do what Callum Lang does. Or indeed, so many of the Pompey players bomb everywhere. Colby Bishop, you could actually put him in the Olympic 10,000 metres, I reckon. The man doesn't know when to trot. He just is firing on all cylinders across the pitch and back the other way. But not your centre-halves. That's why Shaughnessy and Atkinson have become available to Pompey that much sooner than Callum Lang. And listen, John Massinho is right. We don't want to risk him in the last 1 or 2 games of the season and then going under and being out perhaps for the start of next season, wherever we are. So it suggests, does it not, a certain confidence in Pompey's ability to make the cut, as it were, if you want to nick a bit of golfing parlance, make the cut and stay in the Championship next season and build from there. With Callum Lang, I would suggest, very much a prominent part of the plans.
The 72 are looking ahead to Pompey's trip to Norwich. They say, Portsmouth head to Norwich City this weekend hoping to edge closer to Championship safety in what could be a crucial match for their survival hopes. While Pompey have shown they can hold their own since returning to the second tier, they're not out of the woods yet. John Massinho's men sit 4 points above the relegation zone with just 4 games left, and with the teams below them picking up form, they'll be nervously looking over their shoulders. Last weekend's 2-2 draw with struggling Derby County, sealed by Rob Atkinson's late leveller, could prove vital come season's end, especially after 2 straight defeats. Norwich, meanwhile, have seen their campaign fizzle out. The Canaries find themselves stuck in 13th, a full 10 points off the playoffs, with their season effectively over. Their recent form tells the story, just 1 win in 5, including an embarrassing loss to bottom side Plymouth Argyle. Johannes Hop-Thorup's side showed some fight in their 2-1 defeat at Burnley last Friday, putting in a solid second-half display, but ultimately came away empty-handed. Here's our take on Friday's clash. This is Portsmouth's chance to grab a massive 3 points in their fight for survival. Norwich look vulnerable right now, though they might play with more freedom now the pressure's off. They'll be thinking about building momentum for next season. Still, I fancy Pompey to get something here. They've got so much more to play for, and that desperation should show on the pitch. Prediction: Norwich City 1, Portsmouth 2.
So it'll be all eyes on the announcement of the team at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Why are we playing on a Friday afternoon? Because 2,000 years ago, allegedly some people nailed a very nice man to a piece of wood. So naturally, we're going to build a complex fixture programme around that. However, moving swiftly on, when the team is announced, for the first time in a long time, John Messino has got a surfeit, good word, it means too many, centre-halves. Obviously, Regan Poole will be one of the centre-halves, and it's likely that he'll start with Atkinson and have Shaughnessy on the bench and give Shaughnessy a run out towards the end of the game if either Atkinson tires because of his exertions, he's just back from injury, or because it would be a good idea to get some game time into the wonderful Shaughnessy. In front of the back four, which of course will have Connor Ogilvie back at left back, where he double excels. He excels at centre half, but he double excels as a number 3. In front of the back four, and by the way, back four, will it be Zach Swanson or Terry Devlin or Williams? So again, Messino is not spoilt for choice, but he's got more options than he's had for the lion's share of this season. In front of them, Dizelle, who's on 9 yellow cards, but we've looked into it and it doesn't seem to matter if he were to pick up another one at this stage in the season. The 2-match suspension for 10 cards has a cut-off of 37 games, and we've played 42, isn't it? So we think he's in the clear. So Dizelle and Potts. And in front of them, a midfield 3 of... Now, this one's going to be interesting because how can you leave out Matt Ritchie, assuming he's still got the legs, and he certainly seems to have legs to spare. Sorry, makes him sound like an insect, and he's far from that. Murphy, of course, one of the players of the season in the Championship. Yep. And in front of the 3, of course, Colby Bishop. But who gets that third spot amongst the midfield? Because Alcic is probably still slightly out of favour. Still somebody who is growing in the game, growing in his Championship football. Still doesn't quite get the whole press thing, but he's been making an effort and clearly has the touches on occasions to open up a defence. But it might be that he hasn't got quite enough for Norwich. So who? Terry Devlin, if he doesn't play at right back and they go with Swanson in the number 2 shirt, Terry Devlin has a shout there. But didn't Christian Sadie come on in the Derby game? The commentators Moon and Whittingham, I was listening, said that they both felt that they hadn't used his name 25 minutes into the game. Actually, they had. And he had been quite effective in the very early part of the half. Then, I'm not saying he faded, but he had a slightly different role, or took a slightly different role, and became a little bit less high profile and a little bit more covering and being part of the right shape, which is crucial, and not a skill that's easy to teach. But that's, I suspect, what he was doing. And as the game grew on, he became more and more influential. And the way in which he bundled his way through into a one-on-one with their keeper and tried a toe poke through the keeper's legs, I think when he could, the commentators said, have opened his body and gone to the keeper's left, but the ball was travelling in the wrong direction for him. He didn't want it on his left foot. Everyone's got a favoured foot. He wanted it on his right foot, and so the only way he could get the contact he wanted was with what some people have unkindly called a toe poke. It was a good, honest punt towards the keeper, since keepers are often off the ground and they've got their legs splayed in a Schmeichel sort of starfish thing, and it could well have come off. It didn't. So Christian Sadie to start as the kind of central midfield attacking player. We would sign up to that. What do you say? So going into the last 4 games of the season, there are, we say, realistically 10 teams who could be relegated. I think there are possibly more than that mathematically, but it's highly, highly unlikely. So we start with QPR, who are top of the bottom 10, if you like, and go all the way down to Plymouth, who are bottom of the bottom 10. Of those 10 sides, every single side has got at least one relegation 6-pointer. That is to say, a match, a fixture, a scheduled fixture against another team who are also in the relegation area, in the bottom 10. OK? QPR, Oxford, Stoke, Pompey, ourselves, Cardiff, Luton and Plymouth have each got one relegation 6-pointer out of the last 4 games that they've got coming up. 3 sides, though, this is really interesting, 3 sides have got no less than 3 6-pointers. Preston, Hull and Derby have got 3 out of their remaining 4 games against teams who are also in the relegation area. Now, you will say, of course, that might make things easier for them, playing teams that are down towards the bottom, but they're going to be fighting for their lives. What it mostly means, though, is that all of the teams in the bottom 10 stand to lose points in the game that they play that is a 6-pointer. Somebody is going to lose points. Either both teams will lose 2 points because it's a draw, or one team will end up with no points because they're defeated. Yes, the winning side will get 3 points, but it means that one of the 2 sides, if not both of the 2 sides, lose some points and therefore lose some ground, lose some momentum in trying to get out of the relegation zone. So Preston, Hull and Derby have this extraordinary statistic of having 3 6-pointer relegation matches out of their last 4. Now, the key relegation activities, the key relegation 6-pointers are on Friday. Derby play Luton. Derby are 21st at the moment, Luton are 23rd. It means that one of those 2 teams, if not 2 of those teams, both of those teams, will either lose 3 points, get 0, or they will lose 2 points if it's a draw. So either Derby or Luton will have long faces on Friday evening after their key relegation 6-pointer. Then on Monday, Cardiff play Oxford. Cardiff, of course, lie, I think it's 22nd, just behind us. And Oxford lie 17th. I think that's 1 place above us. So here's another key relegation 6-pointer over Easter. It's on the Monday and it's Cardiff against Oxford. On Saturday the 26th, Hull go into quite a sequence of relegation 6-pointers. On Saturday the 26th, they're at home to Derby. This is Derby's second key relegation 6-pointer in their final 4 matches. Hull are at home, they're 20th in the league at the moment, and Derby are 21st in the league. One of those sides will have long faces when the final whistle blows on Saturday the 26th. Possibly 2 of them, both of them, will have long faces because it'll be a draw and points will have been lost. And then the final key relegation 6-pointer of the season is on the final day, Saturday the 3rd of May, and it's us. Currently standing 19th. We play Hull, currently standing 20th. It's very likely that one or both of us will need to get something from that game in order to remain in the Championship. So those are the 4 key relegation 6-pointers in the run-up to the final day of the season and the final table. There are others, but they're not quite so volatile in their outcome. There are, for example, on Monday the 21st, Leeds are playing Stoke, Luton are playing Bristol City, Plymouth are playing Coventry, West Brom are playing Derby. Those are the games involving the sides that are down there amongst the dead men, but they're playing, on that occasion, they're playing teams that are potential promotion candidates. On Saturday the 26th of April, when Hull play Derby, Luton are playing Coventry, who are scrambling for a playoff place. Cardiff are playing West Brom, who are also battling for a playoff place. And Oxford have got Sunderland, who, I think I'm right in saying, stand a chance of getting an automatic place if those above them falter. So that's a tall order for Oxford. So on Monday the 21st, tall orders for Stoke, Luton, Plymouth and Derby, all playing teams who are trying to get into the playoffs. Then on Saturday the 26th of April, Luton have got Coventry, Cardiff and Oxford are... Those three teams are both playing sides who are vying for a playoff place. And this coming Friday, most imminently, Oxford are at home to Leeds, and we don't need to spell out how eminent Leeds are and how ambitious they are, and what a difficult game, obviously, that is for Oxford. Sheffield United are at home to Cardiff. Sheffield United are also hoping to have a glittering season, and they will be battling every inch of the way at home against Cardiff, and of course we hope that they're successful. And Middlesbrough, who are also trying to turn their season into gold, they are at home to Plymouth. A lot of people have written Plymouth off, but it's more than a mathematical possibility that they could avoid relegation, and we don't want that to be at our expense. So that's the key relegation 6-pointers in the run-up to the end of the season between Friday and May the 3rd, when we take on Hull at Pompey, and it's fingers crossed, obviously, that we've already escaped relegation and we can make that a day of celebration.